Welcome to Thriller Bitcoin. Welcome to Thriller Bitcoin.
I remember when I wanted it was now it's ruined. I'm tired, staggered, and old. These are lips that I care for. We're getting more. So I feel that work again.
Get the Bitcoin community to understand that there's actually really good people like running and like want to change things here in Austin. I mean, what made you want to run for the city council?
So what made me want to run for city council was I moved from California. I mean, I've been in Texas for 11 years, so I've bounced back and forth from California to back to Texas twice. And what made me move from California the second time was just the massive and homeless encampments everywhere. The amount of crime that was going on in the area. I mean, there's literally freeway shootouts going on in the city that I was living in, Concord, which is not that far from Oakland. That has a lot of crime.
Wow.
The high taxes. I was nearly paying like $4 in a gallon of gas when I was living in California. So it was just way too expensive. And I was running a solar company. My wife was running her own windshield repair company, contracted with dozens of dealerships. We're both making six figures in California, living paycheck to paycheck.
Really, dude?
Yeah. And so we knew we weren't going to live in California for the rest of our life. And so I let my wife pick 3 states that she would want to move to. And she did this. She manipulated the choices on purpose because she knew I'd pick one state, which was Texas. She loved Austin. I've passed through Austin multiple times. When I was stationed in El Paso, I'd drive to Killeen and visit my high school buddy that was stationed out there at Fort Hood. Yeah. So I'd pass through Austin all the time.
Because Killeen's like a big hub for the military, right?
Yeah, it's a
big base, right?
It's a military town.
Yeah.
So again, then you got Fort Hood, which is right there next to Killeen. And so I go up there and visit him. And so we flew out. She said New Jersey, Florida, or Texas. I said no to New Jersey because I don't want to live out there. It's too cold. And everything's just compact. And then Florida, I was like, I don't want to deal with hurricanes.
Yeah, right. Like right now, right?
Right now, they're going through the massive hurricane that just hit them, and they said there's a possibility a couple hundred people that died from that event. I'm hoping that they're wrong because they said they believe that's how many people died, but they're not too sure yet. And so we came out to Texas, flew to Austin, checked out Dallas and San Antonio while we're out here. So we looked at multiple homes in all 3 cities. Love San Antonio, but Austin gave us more of the culture that we love because it's more like a melting pot.
Yeah, it sure is.
And so you have so many different demographics and so many different cultures.
Everybody's so open-minded here in Austin. Yeah. That's the thing. Like we all look completely different here, but I guarantee you, Clinton, if you were to, be on the side of the road on First or Congress and you needed, a trip to get some gas or something, somebody would stop right away.
Oh yeah. I mean, how friendly people are out here is culture shock for a lot of people that move from out of state to here, especially coming from like California. If you're not driving like a Maserati or a BMW or a Mercedes, people won't even give you the time of day. I mean, I remember I was sitting at a Starbucks one time and I love to read like personal growth books. And I always ask people when I see them reading a book, what are they reading? And I sit down, this lady sits down over there and I'm like, oh, what book are you reading? And she's like, I'm married. And I'm like, I'm engaged. I was like, I just want to know what book you're reading.
That's awesome. Golly, dude.
But coming out here, like I've been in the solar industry for almost 8 years now, running my own company for the last 2. And when I started selling out here, people were actually like inviting me into their homes, like feeding me.
Everybody's nice, dude.
And in California, like people would yell at me, spit on me, pull a gun on me, trying to like, knock on their door.
I think the reason I think it works here in Texas, because at least me personally, I've lived in Texas my whole life. I just assume everybody has a gun. So you just don't mess with anybody.
Yeah.
If anything, you're incentivized by you thinking everybody has a gun. You're incentivized to actually even be more friendly.
It's true.
Because you don't want to be perceived as a threat. Yeah. Right. And people talk about the gun laws. They're like, oh, this and this car, and I'm like, no, dude, it actually keeps everybody in check.
Yeah, if you think that someone might have a gun because it's the legal right to carry,
right?
You're not going to do certain things because you don't want to die.
Exactly.
And so you're not gonna beat somebody up. You're not going to try to rob them.
No, you're not, because you don't know what. So when I went to New York for the first time ever, like 2 years ago, I was completely shocked by the way they were talking to each other, like in the highway. And the Uber driver, he's like, you're okay. I'm like, yeah, like, but are we going to get shot for doing this? He was yelling at the person next to him in the thing. And then the guy came out and I was like, somebody would have been killed already in Texas if you'd have done this. Like, it's impossible. Like, you don't do that.
No,
you don't.
I think you live more in a civil society when everybody's able to defend themselves.
Exactly. It's like, because it goes back down to like, okay, cool. You have to shake their hand. It's a very old way of living, but I think it's probably the better way of living personally. I feel completely safe in Austin. I feel completely safe in Texas. But I don't know if I felt safe like in all these other places where, you don't know, like what you were describing in California.
Yeah. I mean, even in my neighborhood in California, like I lived in high density living with parking restrictions. So there's massive parking wars in my neighborhood. So like if you parked in a certain spot, someone would always claim it's their spot and they would slash your tires.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I've had my car broken into so many times I had to leave my car unlocked. And even when it was unlocked, I literally had someone take a crowbar to my car door and then broke the car door off of the frame. And so I had to get a brand new car door for my car. And I left everything unlocked. I mean, the crime out there is ridiculous. You couldn't even walk down my street after 8 p.m. because right across the street, there's open drug scene, prostitutes everywhere. I remember waking up one morning and ATF, the DEA, sheriffs, local PD were just raiding all the apartment complexes one morning.
Wow.
Because they finally cracked on it in 1 month because it was just getting out of control. There was multiple murders at the park across the street.
Wow.
So many drugs, overdoses.
It's interesting here, right across the street. There was a group of people that were clearly selling drugs. So as soon as we moved in, like we were like, yo, property manager, this is going on here. We're seeing it. And now if you look over, I don't know when you've walked in here, they have like a big old police light right there. That place is cleared now. No one is hanging out there anymore. But it's like, it took us almost a month and a half and somebody getting shot like over here for that to change.
And I feel bad because like, it's not about like going after the people that are using the drugs. It's go after the people that are selling the drugs.
Right.
Because they're lacing these things with fentanyl and killing people. So they should be the one that be criminalized and locked up.
Absolutely.
Not the people that are the victims because they're addicted to these drugs. They got hooked onto them, whether they were on prescription drugs and then their prescription ran out and then they went onto the street to self-medicate. So I don't blame them for their addiction problems, and we should help these individuals.
Absolutely.
With social services. But the idea for these people that are living on the street, our city is like, oh, housing is what solves homelessness. But if you look at California, the Project Room Key that Mayor Adler's trying to adopt.
So yeah, what is that? What is that, Clinton?
So Project Room Key is down in San Diego where they're buying up all these hotels and then they just stick the homeless in there. And so,
but what does that solve though?
Exactly. And so they saw an increase of 200% in drug overdoses because they're taking them off the street and saying, you don't have to get sober. You don't have to stop doing drugs. You don't have to work with a social worker to get job placement or job training, which we have all of these programs out here for free in Austin, but we're not utilizing them properly. So,
or we're not deploying capital to them, I guess. Is that we're just not even giving them money probably?
We're not giving them money. We're not even utilizing them at all. We got the Community First Village that is expanding their facility by 1,400 homes. We got the Salvation Army Rehab Center here in Austin.
My church, St. Catherine, we were just talking about that on Monday. They are letting people around that area come in there and like use their services, but I mean, it's a small church. Like you can only help so many people. So
Yeah.
it sounds like from what you're saying, it sounds like we're putting more strain on the local community, and then we're not helping them facilitate the help. It sounds like
we're just saying housing solves homelessness, but it's not. It's community solves homelessness.
exactly.
And so, yeah, housing helps for those people that are facing chronic homelessness. There's a gentleman that I've met multiple times that's living out of his car, and he's tried so many times to get services through the homeless programs, but he doesn't qualify because of how he's living right now. So they rather stick someone that has severe drug issues or mental health issues in a home that can't help themselves.
Yeah.
Versus the guy that maybe only need temporary shelter in an apartment or a hotel for maybe 1 or 2 months so he get back on his feet, and then he'll be able to pay everything himself. He's like, I only need like 1 or 2 months so I can get back on my feet.
This is the thing I think for me personally, like with my background and how I grew up, like, you know, my mom was very strict on us. She put us like in the library on the weekends. She would put me in art classes on, you know, during the week. Like what all the after school programs, latchkey, like everything. She forced us all to do that. But what's interesting is like we have other people in my family, you know, like second cousins or third cousins who are addicted to like alcohol and drugs. And like we have to see them every once in a while, right? Because they're your family. And then you realize like I know personally, like if you got that person, like let's say my second cousin, you got him in a rehabilitation center of some sort, and he was able to get off of it initially and then work his way up. I think that works. I think actually caring about the individual and trying to get them the help they need to get out of that works. But if you would have just said, yo, let's just put you in your own little place and like, here's a couple money a month and like, let's see what you do. He's just going to go right back to the bottle, right back to the drugs. And that sounds like that's what they're doing.
We need to give them dignity back.
Right. Yeah. And like self-respect, like build them up.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because we also have free vocational training here in Austin too.
Do we?
Yeah. So they have free training programs where you can become an AC technician starting at $100,000 a year.
Wow.
You can get your CDL to become a truck driver, your journeyman electrician license certification, a plumber certification. So we have all these trade jobs for free vocational training that we can use with a social worker for the individuals that need re-job training, because maybe the job that they had no longer pays well or it's kind of phasing out. Because as technology improves, certain jobs will go away. I mean, we're already starting to see like the first McDonald's in Arizona is 100% automated. Literally, there's machines that make the burgers, machines that take the order, machines that serve the food in the restaurant. I think it's in Phoenix or Tucson.
Oh, wow.
First robotic, and they're running it for 2 years to see the profitability. And then after that, if it's profitable, they're going to start transitioning all the restaurants. So there's a whole class of individuals that we focused on. We got to pay them more. We got to pay them more versus like, how do we get them better education to get them better jobs? Because when you force low income jobs to pay more, businesses will find a way to eliminate those job positions. It's just a fact of reality in capitalism.
It's interesting you say about the getting them into other jobs. I used to work at UT, and I wanted to transition to more of like the IT area stuff. And like I went to ACC, right? So I went to ACC. They routed me over to the career area, I guess, of ACC, which is the Austin Community College. And they were like, oh, you can get a Texas grant that'll pay for your first year. It was like $5,000. And then, so I was able to get my Cisco certification for the Cisco Academy there. And it was a Saturday course from like 8 a.m. all the way till 5. So I still had to do my full-time job during the week, but I was able to go on Saturdays from like 8 a.m. till about 5 p.m. every Saturday for like 4 months in a row. It was hard. It was the hardest thing I ever did, right? Like at that time. But it was that opportunity to go from working at UT, doing basically grunt work, you know, but able to lift up into the Cisco, making way more money. And then now here as a founder at Pleb Lab, like where I went from there to here now, it's like, but that's how it starts. It starts with giving people the opportunity to lift themselves up out of where they were before. And I think that's exactly what you're kind of talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would also look at our college university system as well, because we have the banking systems for these college loans that are very predatory. And so when I went back to college because I was working for the Department of Defense when I got out of the military,
Oh, wow.
and I advanced as far as I could without a college degree. So I got up to a GS level 9.
Is that pretty high?
It's about a little bit past mid to high level management.
Okay.
In there. So I think it goes up to GS 15, and it starts out at like GS 3 to 4. So I was like right in the middle. But I advanced as far as I could without a college education. So I quit my job, moved back to California to go to school. And so when I was using my military benefits to go back to school, I literally had to sit down with a counselor and they say, okay, what job do you want out of your degree? I was like, well, at the time I was doing bodybuilding. And so I was like, I want to be a personal trainer. Like I want to be a personal trainer. I know a couple of buddies down in LA that are making 6 figures as a personal trainer. And so they looked up all the job stats for that for the current year, past 5 years, and what they forecast the next 5 years to be in job placement. They're like, well, it looks like the fitness industry has actually been dying down since 5 years ago up to now, and it's going to continue that way because less people are paying for personal trainers. And so we can't pay for that college education for your sports medicine. So like, what else job do you want? I was like, well, my dad's in IT, so cybersecurity network software.
Oh, cool.
And so they looked at it. They're like, okay, well, it looks like this is a growing industry and you can start out making $80,000 a year up to $180,000 a year, depending on what you go in for. So I went to ITT Tech and studied cybersecurity network software. And I actually liked the fact that I was required to sit down with a social worker to give me a realistic idea of what my lifestyle would be and a job availability in the future, which they're not doing with these kids. They're just saying, oh, here's $100,000 loan and go take your business education or gender studies. Yeah. And the kids are getting out of college with like $100,000 to $200,000 student loans, and then they're getting a job at Starbucks.
Yeah, dude. Golly, dude. I know people who literally have gotten their like psychology degrees or whatever, and then they're working at Walmart as human resources or something. Like I know people that did that.
And if they,
it's just like, how does that happen?
They have this idea of what they want to do in life, but there's no reality that's behind it. So they just need to get a check of reality of what's realistic, of what that degree is going to provide for them. Because if they sat down with the counselor like I did and they laid that out, said, hey, like, I understand that you want this degree to pursue this type of whatever education, but when you graduate, there may not be a job for you. So do you want to invest this much debt for something that will not pay you anything?
Right.
And so I think that would help a lot of kids avoid maybe even going to college, and maybe they may go to a trade school instead that pays a lot more. Yeah. And pays you while you're going.
And it's quicker too.
It's a lot quicker because I went to the ITT Tech, which technically was a trade school.
Yeah. But you did it for like 2 years, maybe like a year?
Yeah. So I got they shut down the semester before I got my bachelor's. Uh-huh. So I got my Cisco certification, my CC Plus certification, my CCNA. And before I graduated, I show up with the staff. There's locks on the door. It says, sorry, the school is permanently closed. They didn't notify us they lost their accreditation, that they were on probation. God, dude. And then just
rug pulled. God. Yeah. But you were still able to use that though, right?
No. So none of us knew that the credits were non-accredited. And so those credits were not transferable to any university. So they said, well, you either can start over or you can be part of this lawsuit. And so the lawsuit's still going on, and I won't get anything back because my GI Bill paid for it. Now, if they refunded my GI Bill,
then you could go.
I could go back to college, but I won't because I'm in the solar industry, and I don't want to be a career politician. The reason why I'm wanting to go in is just for 4 years to address the issues that are happening here. Because everybody says, "Don't California my Texas," but they're literally Californianizing Austin.
God, dude.
And I'm always told, like, why would we want to elect somebody from California? Well, I'm a refugee, not a missionary. I'm not here to spread the gospel of California. I'm actually here to stop these radical policies that our current council and mayor have been adopting from California.
We have, I'm seeing more like Kyle's from California, originally born in Texas, but like he's seen it firsthand. We have other friends in the Bitcoin community that have actually came from California, and then now they're living, and it's very similar to your story. And then I I've noticed those people actually care more about Texas than somebody like myself. I mean, I care a lot about my town and my city, but it's like those people are coming in like saying, hey, it's happening over here. Don't let it get like that over here, please. Oh, what happened here? It's weird. It's still recording.
No worries.
But I think I'm realizing now it's these people that are coming from California. It's like they're letting everybody know, like, hey, it's
you really got to look at what type of individual is moving from California. Is it a person that's moving because they're getting pushed out, or is it someone that came here for a career? So typically, the people that moved here because of a job opportunity from that state, they're not going to change their ideology on how they vote. People that move here because maybe they can't afford to live in California, they're the ones that are like, I'm coming here to adopt the Texas lifestyle, to adopt the Texas values and culture.
Right.
And so those are the ones that change the way that they vote. And I really hate the people that vote just down ballot. It's like, why did these people earn all of your vote just guaranteed? I mean, we should all be independents, in my opinion. We shouldn't have a political side or a political affiliation. These political parties should earn our vote, and they should explain why they should earn our vote.
Yeah, I realize the more I get older, Clinton, I'm realizing now that it really isn't about red or blue. It really is just about like, how like are we doing the right thing for future generations? Like, are we setting ourselves up to help the next person that comes along? And I know in the Bitcoin space, we definitely feel like we do that. But I feel when I look at my city and my city council, especially like the mayor, I can't help but feel he's just doing it out of selfishness sometimes. He's only worried about him and his group of people, and he's not looking out for the actual greater community of Central Texas, unfortunately.
A lot of people are feeling that way. I mean, I've knocked on 15,000 doors since March. And I mean, besides 60% of the people that I've spoken to aren't registered to vote and don't want to vote. And their biggest reason why is like, they're like, well, I'm not registered to vote. I supported the camping ban. Even though I didn't vote for it, I wanted it to be enforced, and it passed. And even though it passed, our city council is not enforcing it. Or they're literally tying the police's hands, and the DA is tying their hands. So they're not enforcing this. So why should I vote when my voice wouldn't have been heard anyways?
Gosh, how do you fix that, Clinton? Like, how do you? Is it just a removal of the people that are in there now? Is that how we fix that?
Yeah, it's literally you're removing the people that ignore the law, because we should be all constitutionalists. We should all enforce the law. And you're having a DA that in 2021, 46% of the solved murders were people that he put back on the street that were repeat violent offenders.
Really?
Yeah. So there's 89 murders, and I think 70% of the murders have been solved. And out of the 70%, 46% of those were individuals that he dropped charges. They were violent repeat offenders. They were out on a bond. So they dropped their bond from like $300,000 down to like $9,000. They put them out on an ankle monitor, or they reduced charges. And they went out to commit a murder within 6 to 9 months after they were put back on the street.
God, dude.
And so this is all under the reimagined policing, and they're great philosophical ideals, but they're utopian ideals if you don't live in a life of reality that the bad people exist.
They do.
And you need to hold bad people accountable.
They're absolute wolves, dude.
Yeah.
And this is where, like, for me growing up where I did, you would see those people and you would avoid the F out of them. Like, you wouldn't go around them. This is why my mom was so protective of us. But the harsh reality is, unless you come down on them hard, they're not going to accept the situation that they brought upon themselves. They're just not going to accept it. You have to hit them hard. It's the only way somebody will learn.
I mean, look at Martha's Vineyard. I mean, it's a sanctuary city. Literally had 48 immigrants sent to them to take care of. 48. And we have thousands upon thousands upon thousands that pour across our border cities on the southern border. And they sent out a GoFundMe account to raise thousands of dollars to take care of these immigrants in their town. And then they had them deported by the National Guard to a military base. So it's like a sanctuary city filled with white liberal people that are millionaires, one of the wealthiest cities, can't even take care of 48 people.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, because it goes against the narrative of them actually caring. Because once they are forced to actually do what they say, they're just hypocrites.
Right.
And so they have the money, they have the resources, but they're like, not on my island.
Yeah.
And they sent them over to a military compound.
Wow.
And they had video footage of them all clapping and smiling and waving as they're going on the bus. It's like they weren't even there for 48 hours and you had to kick them off your island.
God, dude.
It's like, if you're going to say you're a sanctuary city, then you're truly a sanctuary city to help them. And if you can't set up the resources to take care of people based on your standard sanctuary, then don't call yourself a sanctuary city.
Wow.
Don't virtue signal.
Yeah, you see a lot of that happening these days. A lot of virtue signal. A lot of people saying that they support, this ESG movement, but in reality, they're riding their private planes all around the globe, right? Like, isn't that the most hypocritical thing I don't know anything more hypocritical than that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny too, because as someone that's been in the renewable energy sector for 8 years, I love debating people on climate change. Because I always tell them, they're like, well, we need more solar and more wind. And I was like, well, wind is a bust. I mean, literally, we're going through these things that have a 10-year life cycle that we can't even recycle. We just bury it under the dirt.
Yeah.
And then someone that's been in the renewable energy with solar, I was like, solar is not green. It's a hard reality to accept, but it is not green. The amount of fossil fuels that we expend to mine, or one, to build the equipment to mine for the minerals, then shipping the minerals to the boats, then boats to the manufacturer facilities to turn them into cells, then turn them into panels, and ship them out. We expend more fossil fuels than they will actually reduce over their lifetime.
No one understands that. Why is that?
It's just media manipulation, in my opinion. They're selling this idea, and if they all speak it, people believe in the media. But the media has gotten so many things wrong so often that you're already starting to see a lot of people are starting to wake up. I mean, you're seeing viewership drop, even on Fox, viewership's dropping, CNN, MSNBC.
Everybody's going to independent media now.
Everybody's going to independent media because they don't tell you how to think. They just provide you the data and the information and let you make your own decision, which that's what the media was supposed to do, is just give you the data, give you what the information is at hand, and let you make up your own choice.
Right. This is why I think what we do here at Thriller is really important, is that we're getting everybody the opportunity to speak about what they want to speak about. And I want to learn. Yeah. I there's some things that I don't know, and I'm comfortably honest about that. And I want to be educated. I've been inviting a lot of people that are looking to run, here in Austin. You're the first one that said yes. Why is that? All these other people are like, no, Carr, I'm too busy. No, I don't want to come on the show. No, you're not the right audience. But here you are, meeting in the middle to have a conversation. You just met Kyle over here. You met the rest of the people here at Pleb Lab. Like, why is that, Clinton? Why can somebody like you come and like meet everybody that you I can tell you're a good human being. You care about your town. You care about your family. You care about the people around you. I can clearly see that in your eyes. But like, why are these other politicians not like that?
Because they're party aligned.
Is that what that is?
It's party alignment. And so I don't care about party politics. I've gone to Democrat events. I've gone to Libertarian events. I've gone to Republican events. And I am a registered Republican, but I don't vote down ballot. I don't do that. I've voted Democrat. I've voted Libertarian. I've voted Republican. Ever since I started voting when I turned 21. I mean, I'm guilty. I didn't vote until I turned 21. I joined the military, and so I was focused on doing my military training. And then when I got out of the military, when I was 21, is when I started actually kind of focusing more on politics, because I was more focused on surviving as a military, digging up bombs and learning about explosives and stuff like that. And I think we need to stop aligning ourselves with people that only stick with their party.
Yeah.
Because then you get into an echo chamber of thought mindset and you're not willing to challenge your thought process. And we're seeing that with people saying believe scientists. Well, which scientists?
Believe the science, right?
Believe the communists. Like, which ones? It's like you need to have diversity of thought. It's like, I believe in the scientific method. There are bad scientists out there. It doesn't mean
100% that are fully backed by the same companies that are trying to poison us.
Yeah, big pharma.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize is the FDA that's supposed to oversee our drugs that we take, they only accept the data from the
same people that are giving them money.
Yeah, same people that are giving them money, and they don't even do their own internal investigation on these studies. And so it's just like, it's a whole corrupt system. It's all buddy, and more people are waking up. And I'm happy to see more and more people waking up to this reality of all these false narratives that are being sold to us.
Thank you for doing what you do, Clinton. Like, because we need more people like you out there willing to put their necks on the line for their community. Like, I can only imagine the amount of like hate that you get for speaking the truth. I can only imagine the amount of
very little.
Really?
Yeah. So
okay.
I don't tolerate BS. I don't tolerate slander. There's nothing that anybody can do to ruin my life. Because literally right now, I stepped away from my solar company. So I'm making no money in the solar industry right now. I'm literally living off my military disability. And so
thank you for your service, by the way.
You're welcome. So I've literally alter my lifestyle because I knew I wanted to run in Austin a year before I ran. So I started making some changes in my life so I could live off my disability. Because it's only about $43,000 a year. So I'm making less than the average income in Austin while running a campaign full time. And so I understand what these people are going through that are living paycheck to paycheck, because I am living paycheck to paycheck right now because I'm just living off of that one resource. So I can understand what they're going through, and I know how to solve the issues in Austin to help those people that are struggling. Because if I didn't make those adjustments a year before I ran, I would be buried in debt, living off my credit cards.
Right.
But like me and my wife, we did 33 raised garden beds in our backyard. We're growing our own food. So 6% of our own food is coming from our backyard. We're in the process of building water collection systems so we can actually create our own drinking water and our own water to wash our dishes and stuff like that. So we're not relying on Austin water. I have solar on my home, so I haven't had an electric bill in 4 years.
You got chickens yet?
We got chickens. Yeah, so we're gonna have our own eggs.
Isn't that a game changer once you get chickens? Like, I feel like it. Yeah.
And I've learned to cold my own chicken too. So I've killed my own chicken, gutted it, defeathered it, and ate it.
Yeah.
Best chicken I've ever had, better than store bought.
Yeah, 100%.
It's so delicious. But I think teaching people how to become more self-sufficient so they're not reliant, because when the winter storm hit, so many people didn't have food.
Dude, Mayor Adler dropped the effing ball, dude. I've never seen a complete coward. I'll call him a coward to his face, because he literally didn't stand up and help anybody. It was all the people in our, like, I was living off of South First at that time. And then all the brewers, the microbrewers in the area were giving people water so they can have water. There was a 1 in a million. We're giving free tacos out. Like, everybody was pitching in the community. If anything, the freeze taught me was that your community is going to lift you out of those hard situations. Not the leaders. Unfortunately, Adler and the rest of those people did not help us at that time.
Sadly, government's never going to solve your issues. They just create issues. They create problems that they try to solve. We saw that with the homeless problem, where when they enabled the camping ban, it just attracted so many people from out of state to come here because of all the free resources that they had. But then when we pushed the end of the camping ban, now our green belts are being destroyed, and now they're asking for more money to clean those up. And they're saying, "Oh, look at what we're doing. We're doing all this good stuff." It's like, well, you caused it. You don't get to pat yourself on the back and then give yourself a 40% raise because of issues that you caused.
Talk about that. They just gave themselves a 40% raise. No one knows about this.
Yeah. So they talk about this 40% raise is something that's well-deserved. And then the incumbent that I'm running against says is not enough.
Wait. So, but don't all of them live like on the west side of town? I'm not knocking the people that live on the, but those are really expensive places to live. Yeah, people living like at the W Hotel, really expensive places to live. Like, Is it because they're not willing to live within their means? Maybe is that what's
they're living way above their means. I mean, you got like Vanessa Fuentes. She's going back to the Netherlands to learn about the biking urban infrastructure that we can adopt here in Austin. Like, well, I'm sorry, the average yearly temperature in the Netherlands is 61 degrees. The average temperature in Austin is 81 degrees. When we had that 58 days of 100-degree plus weather, I didn't see anybody riding their bike. So why are we trying to build an infrastructure that barely anybody's going to use?
It sounds like she just wants to take a trip to the Netherlands.
Well, there's a little bit of that, and there's this whole anti-car movement that's going on in Austin. They're narrowing the roads. They're trying to eliminate parking restrictions, like parking limitations.
So they can put more parking meters there?
No, so they can create more bike lanes. They want a more bike-friendly Austin. Like, it's not going to happen in this environment. I mean, yeah, we should have bike lanes and bike routes for those individuals that want to do it. I'm not saying we should eliminate them.
Yeah.
But you should not build an infrastructure off of a population of 1%.
Yeah.
I mean, we are a construction town. We are a tech town now. We're a music industry. I mean, some guy going to haul his drums on the back of his bike to his next gig?
No, he's not. They usually park right there on the side and they load everything off. Yeah.
So, I mean, they're utopian ideals that don't work here.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to build the same infrastructure in every single city because every city is going to have different climate, different culture, different needs.
Much less you need to fly to the Netherlands and see what they're doing and then try to copy the same thing here. It's like maybe just check out Houston and check out some of these other towns that have expanded and see how they're doing it and how they manage it, right?
And see where their failures were, where their successes were. That way you're not making the same mistakes.
Yeah.
You don't fly to another country where their state or country you can literally ride a bike around in a couple hours.
I think like you see what UT's doing, right? So like UT has all the bike lanes over there and it's all close by because of the university. That makes sense. It's like you have kids, of course they're going to ride their bikes. Of course they're going to ride their scooters or whatever. And that makes sense in that area. But to throw it everywhere, it's like, doesn't make sense. It makes sense for that particular area of the city, right?
I mean, Pflugerville even did a great thing with their bike. I don't know if they're done with it yet, but like when I was attending BNI meeting, which is a network meeting for business owners. So you may have like 40 people in that group and you all are that one individual for the industry. So there'd be like a dentist, a lawyer, a real estate guy, a solar, plumber, electrician, different trades, but only one in that area. So you guys share business. And so one of them was talking to me about how they're building a huge interconnection highway that's for walking and biking between all the schools. And so it cut through residential and it made it easy for people that instead of taking their car to drop off their kids, they can ride a bike.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be something that people are going to use year round because of how hot it gets here in Texas.
No, you're right. Like when I was young, like growing up on the coast over here in Corpus, like we walked to school, but it was way better breeze. It was still hot, but it was like breeze coming. And it was like, maybe like a mile walk at most. But like, that's what everybody did. Kids just walked to school.
I did that in California.
Yeah.
It was better temperature. I mean, we had like maybe 3 weeks out of the year, it was above 90 and maybe 1 or 2 weeks that was above 100. And so I would walk 5 miles to school and walk 5 miles back. Well, I'd run back because I'd drop off my backpack at my mom's work because she worked for the local newspaper at that time.
Oh, nice.
And so, yeah, my mom very involved growing up. Public service was big to my family. I'm a fourth generation combat veteran. And my mom's pretty much served on every board that you can think of within the city, from Parks and Recs to Kiwanis clubs to the school district.
Nice.
Worked for the local paper as a journalist and then an editor. Now she's a city councilwoman.
Wow.
Yeah. So if there's a name with a plaque, her name's on it.
That's awesome, man.
So I actually got to watch her grow and build a city within.
You saw what it takes, the amount of effort, the amount of care, the amount of love for your city, right?
And
You've seen it firsthand.
All focused around community.
Yeah.
And it just feels like this city council is not focused around community. They're focused about what can advance my political career. What big item can I push through that makes me look good? Is it tampon equity? Is it the guaranteed income program? Is it homeless hotels? So it's not about what actually helps the community. It's what makes them look good.
So Clinton, tell everybody where they can learn more about you. What's your website? What What is it? What is it that you need most?
So my website is clintonrarey.com. You can see it right here. Last name Rarey. It's going to go over my platform, which is going to be cost of living, public safety, and government transparency and accountability. I want to actually hold people accountable, especially like with East 12th Street when they did the rezoning for the bar district. They used an online survey with no accountability to actually verify that they're actually residents to push through the vote.
Oh, that's sneaky.
And so I actually went door to door and I spoke to 55 people that live in that area, and 45 were against it. And they've gotten a petition signed with, I think it was about 100 people that signed that petition. And then 10 people were even unaware. But then you have the councilwoman saying, well, we went around and we surveyed the neighborhood. Not to these people. You didn't knock on any of their doors.
Wow, dude.
They did an online survey that had no transparency, no accountability. And they used that to justify to push it to a council vote, not a ballot vote. Because if it went on a ballot, it would have got shut down.
Gosh. And I saw the other day on social media, one of those councilwomen was attacking you. She called you a racist. And I was like,
White supremacist.
You were just like freaking asking her a question.
No, I wasn't even asking her.
Where does she get the nerve to do that, dude?
So she was talking about the high crime in metropolitan cities. And I was agreeing with her. I said, I have to agree with Natasha on, and before I can finish what I was saying, she interrupted. She's like, Councilwoman Harper Madison.
What?
And
what is she, royalty?
That's what I'm saying. Like these titles mean nothing to me. I will address you by your first name or your last name.
Austinites, man.
Yeah.
We're all in Austin. We're in this together.
Yeah, but she's the same woman that, like, I was at a town hall meeting of hers, and some lady was asking her questions why she's meeting with a lobbyist that works with Eureka Holdings that owns 170 properties on or off of East 12th Street. So they benefit from the rezoning and not the homeowners.
Wow.
And when they asked that, like, she was dancing around the question, and the resident just like cursed her out and said, hey, just answer the damn question. And then Natasha stood up and said, you need to respect me.
What is
my
going
position
on, dude?
Well, it's ego entitlement. She's never had power. She tried to create her own business and that failed. And she's even admitted it. She's like, I tried to create this flower business that is eco-friendly, and well, that failed. And so she's never really had success in her life. And I bet outside of being a city councilwoman, I bet she's a great individual to talk to.
I'm sure she is. I'm sure she's great. We're not knocking who she is,
No.
how she grew up. We're knocking the entitlement that she thinks she has. She needs to realize that
it's not about her.
It's not about her. It's about your community. Like, what are you doing for us? We're paying taxes. Like, we paid a lot of, ask Kyle, dude, like the red tape and all the stuff just to move in here and work on open source development was ridiculous.
It is.
It was like, that's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, like, these people don't realize that they're here to work for us.
It is. And right now we're with the other, because there's a group interview with the statesman. And so you had Melanie House Dixon on one side, Natasha Harper Madison right there, and then myself right here. And so I didn't address her by her title because I don't believe in titles. I'll call you by your first name or by your last name, whichever you prefer. I'm not going to slap like councilwoman or like some people that think that they still have their general ranking when they get out of the military. I'm sorry. No, you're a civilian. You're a public servant if you're a council person. And so then we're doing our closing statements. And then she went on a rant about how people don't address her by her title. And it's because of egotistical white supremacy style thinking. And I'm just like, you don't know anything about my life. Like my ex-wife that I was married to, she was Hispanic Native American. My nephews and nieces are Black. It's like
she doesn't even realize who she's talking to, man.
And it's not about her race; it's about her character. She is very ego driven. She thinks she's entitled to everything, and if people don't like her, then they're racist.
Yeah, she's not even listening to Martin Luther King, and people are gonna get mad at me for saying this, but like he literally said, not judge somebody by the color of their skin, but the forget the last words, but their character, right? Like, yeah. It's true, man. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah,
it's true. Like, judge people by their character and what they've done. And she's clearly doing awful things to her city. If she's taking money from, I'm saying this, she's taking money from somebody else. Because I've heard stories, man. I've been living in this town for a while now. There's envelopes that get passed. And when they leave that meeting, they just pick up that envelope along with the rest of their materials. Now, I don't know what's in the envelope, but that happens in this town, unfortunately. And I think what we're doing here at Thriller is like we're trying to be another publication for people to look at and look to as far as like independent media, right? Because a lot of what we're seeing with some of the other publications in town, they're a little slanted in a certain direction. You know, I'm not saying I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just saying because they're our friends, but I'm just saying like it appears from my side that it looks like kind of slanted. And I think what we need to do here is like give people like yourself and other people that are in the light, you know, a reason to speak up, because I don't think these other people are giving you the fair enough platform to get out there to the masses, because I think you're seeing it door to door.
Austin Monitor is doing a lot better after I called them out for slander.
That's good.
That's all you got to do is you got to stand up for yourself. And when you do, they back down because they're not used to it. They're used to you like, oh, I'm going to call him a racist and he's going to cower down. No. I'm sorry. I know I'm not a racist. So I'm going to call it out where it is. And your entitled little woman's going to sit down and actually listen to the facts and the data. And I don't want to join city council and rub shoulders and go to cocktail parties. I just want to get there and do the work. And I'm probably going to be the most hated council member on council by other council members, because I'm going to hold them accountable for what they say and what they do. Because for example, we had the license plate readers that they voted on.
No, I didn't hear about that. What is that?
So they were trying to get the 20 license plate readers into the police's hand to help for like human trafficking and Amber Alerts.
Okay.
And they had a policy written out on what it was not going to be used for and how the data was not going to be shared. But then you had the council members go up there and say the exact opposite and allow people that they invited to come out there and speak and spread this disinformation regarding the LPRs. And I went up there and I spoke, and they were talking about how 20 license plate readers was going to be considered mass surveillance. I held up my phone. I was like, we all have a phone in our pocket. We're being surveilled every single day. NSA has admitted that. The FBI has admitted that. The CIA has admitted that they listen to our phones. They read our text messages. It's been publicized in the news. So it's true. I don't care if they listen because I have nothing to hide. It's not like there's anything I could do to stop them. I mean, it's going to take Congress, but they're not going to do anything because they don't care. And then they went on about how like, oh, it's going to track people getting abortions by Cheeto Vela. And he's a lawyer. It's like, you know well that it is a clear HIPAA violation for hospitals to share information with the DMV dude. Or even the police. And for you had to have the gall to say that as an attorney should disqualify you as a politician. You should be removed from your seat because now you are lying to stop something.
Dude, I used to work in IT. We had to do a whole separate way of sharing files for those companies that we were managing. HIPAA's a real thing, man. They'll come down on you hard.
Yeah. It's politicians that just spread false information to push their narrative. And I'm tired of it. And that's why I'm going into city council to stop.
Boss. God, you got my vote, Clinton.
If you're in District 1, that's where I'm at, east of 35.
No, I'm not on east of 35. But we have a lot of Bitcoiners over there. Yeah.
And I'm telling people like, if you could donate money, then go to my website, clintonrarey.com, click on the donate page.
I'm donating today.
But if you can't donate and you live in District 1, or if you live near District 1, I highly encourage you to go talk to 10 people, just 10 people, and ask them, are they registered to vote? Because you have until October 11th to register to vote.
Where do we go to do that? A lot of Bitcoiners don't vote. That's just the truth. We don't vote. But let's say some of us, like me, you've encouraged me to go out and spread the message. Where can they go to register to vote?
So they have the registration to vote. You can do that on the Austin website, or you can do that through the Texas page, and it'll give you the locations where you can go register to vote.
Okay.
And so we have early voting on October 24th to November 4th, and the election day is November 8th.
So October 24th to November 4th
is early voting. And then election day is November 8th.
And then when do we find out the results?
Well, it just depends on if they actually process everything properly, or we're going to have to wait 2 weeks. So it just depends on how they handle the election.
Okay.
They'll probably say COVID, and then it's going to delay the process.
Are they still running with that narrative now?
They're still running with it. There's people that are still wearing masks, even though they say masks don't work. Which I'm not going to judge anybody that feels that they need to wear a mask. That's perfectly
personal
fine.
decision, personal information. You do it on your own.
And I'm not.
Don't force me to do.
I'm not going to harass you if you want to wear a mask. I'm not going to tease you. But the facts are they don't work. They never worked. It's a respiratory disease, and you're going to be able to get that whether you wear a mask.
Yeah, and absolutely. And we're not saying that people didn't die. People died, and it was tragic. Died, me and my personal family, there's people that passed, but it just means like, hey, it's a personal self decision to make. And
a lot of people don't realize too is like before, like it was halfway through the COVID season, and I weighed nearly 270 pounds. Wow. I was obese.
Wow.
And I was reading a lot of medical reports that were coming out early from COVID, and the underlying cause for most people that were being hospitalized were they were obese.
Absolutely.
95% of people being hospitalized were obese. And so I looked at that and I looked at myself and I was like, well, COVID's real. I know it's real. I'm a high risk factor right now. And so I got in the gym and I started doing intermittent fasting. I went from 270 pounds and right now I'm at 174.
Nice.
In a year and a half. And when people say, well, I can't afford healthy eating because it's too expensive, or I can't afford a gym membership. I didn't have a gym membership. There's a lot of walking. I didn't do any running. There's a lot of walking, small weights, high reps, and I had 2 meals a day.
Boss. Dude, I went through the same transformation. I was 100 pounds heavier a year ago. I already lost 100 pounds. I'm still working out.
There you go.
And it's like one of those things is like I switched to eating meat. Shout out KNC Cattle. I started hanging out with these guys who are super active, like Kyle. Started walking around downtown, and went back to church. Turns out that's all you really need to do to change your life.
I mean, the fastest thing that got me to lose weight was cutting out sodas.
Yeah, that's a big thing too.
Yeah.
Coffee. I actually picked up coffee this year. I used to be a Monster kind of guy in the morning.
Yeah, it was
coffee helps.
C4. I like the C4 drinks. So I'd have soda and I'd have multiple energy drinks a day because I was addicted to caffeine.
Me too.
And my family has addiction issues to alcohol, and I was an alcoholic too. My wife was an alcoholic.
Yeah, I cut out alcohol too. I don't even drink alcohol.
Nobody in my family drinks. Anymore because we all have addictive personalities, and so we understand we have addictive personalities. So my addiction is fitness. And so
cool.
I'm getting back into fitness, and I've done bodybuilding in the past when that actually helped me quit drinking the first time was doing bodybuilding.
I've been doing this rower thing, dude.
That's great.
So for whatever reason, man, I freaking love the rower.
It's a good back workout. It's a good core workout.
It's a good core thing.
For cardio as well.
And it also like help because I ride a motorcycle to work. So like it helps with me, like that's a big ass bike. So it helps me like control the, and like all this now is just like getting,
And then just turn it upside down and do.
Oh yeah, I need to start. Yeah, Kyle was telling me I need to start hitting these things, whatever. That's it's happening slowly, but I think for me, like shout out Dono, he's the one that told me it's like Car. You just take it that one step at a time, day by day. You're not trying to get bulked out or anything. You're literally just trying to make a health decision. Same way you brush your teeth, same way you should be working out. I'm like, damn, when you say it like that, it's an easier pill to swallow than saying, oh, you need to lose all this weight, you need to do this. And it's like, no. It's like brushing your teeth. Just
one day at a time.
20 minutes one day. You want to do an hour the next? Cool. But it, like that to me was like easier pill to swallow for somebody who was heavier before, but not so anymore now and still dropping weight.
Awesome, man. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Life changes around here at Pleb Lab. That's what's kind of cool. So we're going to go to Clinton Rarey.com.
Correct.
Okay. And then we're going to register to vote. And then we're going to vote for you if you're on the District 1 area.
So District 1 is from 7th Street. And then you're going to take Cameron Road. And then it turns into DeSalle. And then go all the way up to Howard Lane to Harris Branch.
Boss. Okay. Yeah. I used to work over there off of DeSalle. There's a lot of companies out there.
There's a lot of industrial buildings in District 1, but it is a booming single family home, and there's a lot of apartment complexes going up. I think right now there's 15 apartment complexes going up in District 1 along the highway corridors.
Nice. Yeah. What do you think about Bitcoin? Do you think we're crazy?
No,
You've seen Pleb Lab.
no.
What's your thoughts on Bitcoin? Just curious.
I know very little bit about Bitcoin. The only thing that I liked about Bitcoin is you can actually follow the transactions.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's what I liked about it was transparency. And so I was like, when I saw this, I was like, why doesn't our government have this with how they spend their money? And so that's why, like, when I say I want accountability and transparency, I want to have an open source budget in Austin.
So tell me more about that. How would that work?
So open source budget, which Austin already kind of has, but they don't break it down all the way. And what I mean by break it down all the way is I want to know where per penny, where it's going. If it's going towards salaries, I want, okay, these are the amount of job positions in this category for, like, say, Austin Energy, upper management. This is how much he's being paid. You don't have to list their names, just the job position, what they're being paid. Now, if it's above what their salary is, why is it above their salary? Now let's break it down. This is their salary. Here's stipends, whatever it is. So calculating all of that, so we could actually see how the money's being spent. When you go on to their current system, it'll have like a line item that says other. What is other?
Yeah.
Or food.
Yeah.
What food? What was it?
You can't even get away with that if you're running a business.
No, if you file your taxes, you got to list everything.
Yeah.
So I want our government to do the same thing for our tax dollars, because they keep year over year, they've done max cap raises on their property taxes, and they justify for this year, like, well, we roll over in your property taxes, but you raised all the baseline fees for everything else. So we're actually paying more, even though you lower property taxes.
Wow. Yeah, Bitcoin can definitely solve that.
I agree. Bitcoin would solve that.
Bitcoin definitely
isn't Miami?
So that's the thing that most people don't realize, is that Miami is a crypto town. So I'm, nothing against that or whatever, but there's this company or Bitcoin, like, I don't know what they're doing. It's Stacks. It's a poop coin kind of company, and what they're doing is they gave this guy a lot of behind the scenes stuff to enact a city coin. And they tried doing the same thing here to Mayor Adler. So I'm not saying he got any city coins or any money from Stacks. I'm just saying, like, he was seen taking a picture with all these people behind him that were associated.
He's doing a lot of things that he shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I'm not accusing because I don't have any proof, but
I will.
Okay. But they were trying to do the same kind of thing here, but there's a lot of Bitcoiners in this town, and we stopped it.
Good.
We stomped it out. Like, we're not going to let somebody come in here, throw a lot of money towards these people, and then enact the city coin. Like, Bitcoin's already, I don't know if you know this, but Bitcoin's being accepted down here at this brewer, over here at Shiners.
I mean, the gas station over by my house is a Bitcoin ATM.
They have ATMs around town. Like, we have the Bitcoin Commons over here. It's an event center for everything Bitcoin related. And we have big Bitcoin companies in this town. Pleb Lab is one of them. Unchained is one of them. Like, there's a big movement of Bitcoiners in this town that are coming from all over the world to come live here because it's a Bitcoin city. So yeah, the fact that they were trying to sneak by and do this whole kind of city coin here was a complete scam.
So there's a city coin thing that the mayor was trying to do, and then timeshare homes that the mayor is currently doing.
What's that?
So have you heard of Picasso Homes?
No.
So Picasso Homes is based out of California, I believe. And I might be getting the person who's partnered mixed up. It's either Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates. One of them has co-ownership with the company. And I could be wrong. So please check me on it if I'm wrong. I always like to be checked on the facts.
Okay.
But what it is this company comes in and buys up homes. And what they do is they do fractional shares. So they'll have like 32 people buy into that home, and you can live in that home for up to 14 days and not more than 22 days consecutively. So ultimately, it is a timeshare home. And so, like, Tennessee is being infiltrated, Oregon's being infiltrated, California's already being infiltrated by these. And literally, you're removing the community out of the community.
So they're just buying up homes?
Buying up homes and then doing fractional shares and calling it fractional shares, but it's a timeshare. It's literally what a timeshare is.
So this is why we can't buy homes?
That's why we can't buy homes. They're either doing Picasso Homes. There's another one that's very similar called Affordable Homes. And then people do an Airbnb. That's just permanently Airbnb. So that's why.
So they're buying them and then turning them into Airbnbs.
Exactly. So,
Oh my God, dude. This is sick, man.
So there's little over 2,000 homes that are permitted to be an Airbnb in Austin. There are over 70,000 homes that are just under Airbnb that are unpermitted in the city of Austin.
Our co-founder Keon here, he literally is having he's just having a nightmare of a situation because he lives right next to an Airbnb. He's reached out to the city. They won't help him. He's told the owner there, but they're just like, yeah, whatever, man. And now he can't sleep because those guys are just throwing parties. They have a pool back there. And this is just a regular small on the east side. It's a small little, neighborhood area. It's very, friendly, but here they are at Airbnb causing havoc to his daily night, trying to get some sleep.
The guests don't care. They rented that home for 2 to 3 days and they're there to party.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody thinks or says. That's what they're there for.
And they should have fun. They should have fun. But there's hotels for that. We could probably segment some other place, right? But if like in a neighborhood like that, that's just like.
Yeah, I mean, neighborhoods should not be where you have many hotels or hostels.
Yeah.
It should be for community. If you want, we should have either rental properties for long-term rental. And even if it's short-term rental, if you're going to rent out a home for a month, I'm okay with that. But none of this 48 hour, 72 hour within residential neighborhoods. If you want to buy a house on a lake and do an Airbnb on that, that's perfectly fine. You're not in a subdivision.
Right.
That's fine. It's not whatever. I don't care. Or if you're outside city limits.
Or it should be a vote in the neighborhood. Not like what you did. Knock on the door and ask every single one of them. Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, leave it up to the HOA. Let people vote within their own community. Like, okay, there's 400 homes in this neighborhood, and they all go to the HOA and vote on it, whether they're going to approve Airbnb. If they all vote for it, then let them vote for it.
Right.
If they're against it, that's their neighborhood.
That's their decision. Right. God, this is what I like about you, Clinton, already. You just bring actual, like, just straight, normal, everyday things that work because you're a part of the community, because you're doing these things. And we just know this from being on the ground, like seeing this whole thing kind of play out. And I think these people that are, in this situation now, especially the city council that we have now, I'm not saying all of them, but, some of them that we've talked about already, the mayor, they just like, they're in this ivory tower, man. And do they even talk to regular people?
No. So like when I said, I've knocked on 15,000 doors and nearly everybody has told me you're the first person that's actually ran for office that has knocked on my door in over 20 years or 15 years
Whoa.
or 10 years. Or I've been here, 5 years and nobody's knocked on my door. I've had someone that's lived, they're a third generation and nobody's ever came to their house.
Wow. And
they live downtown on like 13th, I think it's 13th or 12th Street that I spoke. And they're the third generation living in their home.
Yeah. And we have a friend named Alex. He tries to, I think in the beginning, he was trying to go to the city council and like, talk to them about the issues in what he's seen. Right. And then they would cut him off or they wouldn't listen to him before. And now he's having to do some different type of tactics that are hilarious to watch. But it's one of those things where like now they're actually paying attention to what he's saying because now he's actually spreading the truth. And it's like he's showing a mirror of what they've come, And
I love how he does this in a parody mode because he's making fun of what they're doing and what they're thinking. He's saying it out loud. That way people are like, they share it because they think it's hilarious. But in reality, he's speaking the truth.
Yeah, he's showing a mirror to him.
Yeah.
And they don't like what the mirror see. Like they don't like that mirror. You're right. And that's why they cut him off with time. They don't let him speak.
That's why they reduced the talking from 3 minutes to 1 minute. And that's why they also make the agenda items so wide. They're like, we need to cover 190 agenda items. It's like, well, most of these shouldn't even be on the agenda because it's outside the scope of what the city's responsible for. So, I mean, you got a lot of these propositions or policies that the city's trying to adopt that it's not even their responsibility. Their responsibility is public service, public health, public safety, public services. So that's like your roads, libraries, parks, freaking the police, first responders. But they're doing all these other things when they should be focusing on our core infrastructure. I mean, we're losing 6.5 billion gallons of water per year. We've lost enough water in the last 10 years to fill Lake Travis 1.5 times. And now they're talking about trying to restrict our water usage. Right?
Oh my God, oh my God.
When you
these
ignore
idiots
a problem for 10 years, you don't get to do and take people's rights away and restrict people's usage. Fix the damn problem and then create innovative ways for water collection. So I'm very green and environmentalist.
I think we all are. I think we all care about the planet, right?
They have this climate equity plan for net zero carbon emissions by the city, but then our green belts are filled with hundreds of tons of trash that are getting into our waterways.
Why are they so incompetent? Like, is it because they don't have experience doing it? They're so detached from reality.
From reality.
Is that what that is? Yeah. It has to be, right?
They're not incompetent. They're very smart people. They're very intelligent people. It is just they're detached from reality.
Man, we need new people in there like yourself.
We just need common sense. And I don't care if someone identifies a Democrat, a liberal.
It doesn't matter. Let's just take care of our
if you have
town.
Moderate views and common sense, and we can all work together. But like this whole political divisiveness is like, oh, well, he's a Republican or she's a Democrat. And we got to hate each other. No, what if you guys are neighbors?
Yeah, that's a tactic that they're using. Now I look at it as a tactic. Call people racist, call them they're this or that side, and then don't talk about the actual issues. Mm-hmm. It really is like, okay, so you're calling me this and you're saying I'm that because you don't want to meet in the middle and have a conversation about how to fix the problem. You don't want to fix the problem. You just want to do name calling and you never want to get to the real issue.
Exactly.
Like we can all agree that we care about the planet. We can all agree that we want to see each other, lift each other up. We can all agree on these basic things. So if we all agree on that, let's talk about it and find the best solution forward.
And at least admit your mistakes because you're not going to be right all the time.
Own it.
Own your mistakes and people will like you more. People want to keep voting for you if you admit your mistakes, but they don't. They don't admit their mistakes.
Dude, I make mistakes every day.
So do I.
I'm the most guilty person. Like I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but literally the other day I was like, who took the last, soda here? Like, well, oh, you probably drank a car. Okay. Like my mistake, like own it, right? Like, so you drank the last Topo Chico. It doesn't matter. Like
it's not the end of life.
Yeah. But like, maybe I was just in a real weird mood that day, but I'm owning it. Like you own your mistakes. You try to be better the next day. This is how we learn. This is how we move forward. From your mistakes,
but if you don't,
no one's
your mistakes,
perfect.
You're never going to learn.
Yeah, man.
That's how people grow. That's why successful entrepreneurs are successful. They make millions of mistakes, but they grow from them, they admit them, and they acknowledge them. If you never acknowledge your mistakes, you're never going to grow and you're never going to be successful.
Absolutely. Dang. And what a great podcast. I want to release this today. I'm going to, yeah. Tell people about your military background, because I think working with somebody, my co-founder Kyle here at Pleb Lab, for me personally, as a person that doesn't have military experience, but working with him, I will say this, Clinton, having somebody with a military background at a leadership role has helped me immensely to how to strategically look at things, break things down, take a bird's eye view. It helps us as a company move forward. Yeah. So I want to talk about why that is, but I also want to talk about like your background too as well.
So in the military, we always like to joke around that we're idiots. And so we always say, we got to break it down Barney style for the people that eat crayons. And that's what we do. We literally break it down, everything that we do down to where a third grader can understand it. Because some people that do join the military have low testing scores and they may not be very smart because they're maybe a high school dropout, got their GED. So that's why we break everything down in Barney style. So it's in the most simplest mode so everybody can understand it. Because you need everybody to understand, because you're never going to be able to accomplish a mission if like one or two people don't understand what's going on.
Wow. Okay.
And so in the military, my job was literally, I was training for route clearance. I was a combat engineer, which is a 12 Bravo. And So training in vehicles to scan the roads for IEDs in the ground. So I'd be driving like 2-3 miles an hour down a road, and then either the vehicle in front of me is going to find it with his mine detector panels, or our tires are going to hit it because his tires up front, they're special tires to where you could literally run over your foot. And this is like a 2-ton vehicle, run over your foot and you never feel it. That's how specialized those tires were. And so if he missed it, then our vehicle would hit it. But luckily, I was always the rear vehicle when training, as I was with my the platoon sergeant. But when we got overseas, they said, "Wow, well, we have too many route clearance companies out here, so we actually need you to retrain on mine detectors." And so we retrained on the mine detectors for the first 30 days, and then we got attached with the Germans up in north in Bagram. And so we were walking around with mine detectors looking for IEDs. I carried a shovel, and you worked in teams of 2. And so one had the mine detector, one had the shovel. And so I was the mine detector guy. And then the first IED that we detected, my partner literally took the shovel and then stabbed the ground and missed the pressure plate by like 3 to 4 inches.
What?
And he would have killed us both. And I pushed him. And from that point forward, I said, look, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die by my own hand, by my own mistake. I was like, so you can go back there and hold security. Give me the shovel. And I mean, the shovel's a little fold-up shovel. It's only about like this big, like a little. They call it.
So you're putting your life on the line. Everybody does when they go there, right? But like you were literally like facing.
I was the front line. So literally, I'd have to clear the routes so the infantry can go through.
Dude. So you're literally facing life or death situation every day. But like you're the first guy that's probably. Oh my God, dude.
So my unit or my squad, we had the most confirmed IEDs found when we were in Afghanistan. We broke the record. It was over like 450 IEDs that we found between the 12 of us. And I have personally dug up over 12. I don't know the exact count, but I just know it's a little over 12. Because after a couple, you just phase it out. You're just like focused on surviving and digging them up. I mean, we had some great tools out there. Later on, when we were overseas, they gave us these giant machines when we worked on big missions. Literally, you have an Xbox controller controlling this machine that had these giant bar on it with chains on it, and it would just spin. And so it's tearing up the ground. So you're driving around with that. Or we had these things, we called them APOBs. And so you go in teams of 2 and they connect, and it has a little rocket. You open up the container and it shoots out, and it's a little string that has blocks of C4 on it. It's about 50 feet long, and it would blow up and clear a route. Or you have this giant version of it. It's called a Miklik, and it had a giant rocket that's probably the size of me, and it would shoot like 2 football fields long of C4 to clear long routes. And so I had a lot of fun overseas. But like the first month,
sounds to me, just a civilian, it sounds scary as F, bro. I'm freaking out right now. It's like Hurt Locker stuff, right? Like it probably worse.
I mean, when you're in it constantly, you get numb to it and you get used to it, which is sad to say that you get numb to war. And so like when I was overseas, I had grenades on my vest, and those things are not light. A lot of people think that they're light. Like the grenade is like 5 pounds.
Really?
So you add on all your ammo, all the C4 and the TNT that I'm having to carry around, my mine detector, and then my M4. It literally was heavy. And so like at any chance, I'd always, because it sucked because the rules of engagement, like to throw my grenade, I had to get approval from my lieutenant. And so whenever we get in a firefight, I look at him, I'm like, yeah. Can I pull it? And he's like, no. I'm like, it's like 10 pounds I want to get rid of. So I just want to pull both of them and throw them.
Whoa. Wow, dude. So running for city council and doing this stuff is probably 10 times. 10 times, because it's like you already know how to lead. You already know stress. You know these hard situations. You understand life and death. You understand how to do all these things. So if for you, it's probably just like, okay, this is, I'm not taking away the gravity situation that we're dealing with here in our community, but I'm saying like for you, it's an easier shift to take upon this responsibility.
It's an easy shift. And I feel like between the military and then running my own company and being in the solar industry, and then because right now I'm knocking doors and I'm pounding the pavement. I'm doing the actual hard work. I'm not doing these donors for dinners where like I say, oh, come to this dinner and buy a plate for $100 and come listen to me speak. I'm not a public speaker. That's my biggest fear. Like, I'd rather go back over to Afghanistan and dig up IEDs than speak in front of 1,000 people. Like, that petrifies me to do public speaking. Like most people, that people rather die than speak in front of a large crowd, which is a crazy thing to think that's the biggest fear for most people is public speaking, which I've been getting better at because I've been doing.
Yeah, I feel like you're doing a great job.
This is just like one-on-one. I don't have like a large crowd looking at me like eyeballs. Like, what is he going to say next? How is he going to mess up? But yeah, I feel like I've kind of prepared myself for this with being able to actually pound the pavement. I've gone door to door selling solar, connecting with people because solar sells itself. And I always approach myself as not like a high pressure salesman. I'm like, I'm just going to educate you. You're either going to buy it or you're not. If not, then I go to the next door. And that's perfectly fine with me. Like, I can, between my disability plus the solar plus roofing plus landscaping, I have enough residuals coming in to where I don't need to survive on making or convincing someone to buy something from me.
Right.
And then that's how I'm approaching it with politics. It's like, look, I don't want your vote if I'm not the right candidate for you. This is what I'm about. If you think that's not for you, that's perfectly fine. But if you don't vote for something different, this is where Austin's going. And I'm not going to stay here for that because I've already gone through it. Yeah. And I don't want to put my family through it. And I don't want my kids to one day say, well, Daddy, you stood up and you were willing to fight for this country, but you weren't willing to fight for the city of Austin. And I may be here only 5 years, but I want this to be my forever home.
Yeah, there's a lot of people just like you that have come from other places that are coming to Texas and they want to plant roots here, and you can't plant roots if everything is the way it is, unfortunately.
And I don't want to be a career politician. I want to be one and done. I want to do 4 years. I don't want to run for re-election. I want to be able to say, I did my job. I was able to make some minor changes that course correct the direction that this ship is going. That way we're not going to hit an iceberg and become Chicago or become San Francisco.
Right.
And then I can back someone that's a good quality candidate for the job next.
Gosh, dude. Yeah, I think what we have now is like everybody's trying to solve money, and we're seeing it too. Just like everybody's trying to solve issues with money, and they're throwing money at the problem. But in reality, like, it doesn't take any money. It just takes common sense to fix a lot of these problems, and it takes actually people meeting of the minds and figuring it out. And if you can't solve the problem without money, money's not going to change that. It's just going to exacerbate the already tense situation that you have brought upon yourself.
Talking about that, I mean, the common sense portion is like, we know the homeless problem was bad, but you have the city council and the mayor saying how great they're doing. And so me and this other gentleman named Jamie Hammonds, we actually took it upon ourselves to go in through all the homeless encampments in the green belts. And so for like 5-6 weeks, I was going through documenting everything, walking through like shin high, deep trash, blown up propane tanks, burn sites everywhere, just documenting everything. Got in the national news, got in the local news, exposed the hypocrisy of city council and the mayor. And literally Austin Public Health is reaching out to me, not them, reaching out to me saying, hey, where are these homeless encampments? Or who do you recommend to fill these job positions? And so I've given the recommendations on who I believe would be good fits because they've actually done the work versus hiring these nonprofits to do these jobs that are just leeching off the industrial complex for the homeless.
Right. And that's kind of what I'm seeing too on the ground as well too. It's a lot of that in Austin. Unfortunately, it's been that way for a long time. I'm glad in seeing it. And this is kind of your proof of work. You've already done that. You're already doing that because you're a local Austinite and you believe in what you believe in fundamental change at the ground level, and you're already doing it. You're already providing service to the city. No one's talking about it. No one's seeing about it. I mean, we hope this gets out there to the masses and people start recognizing the goodwill that you're already providing the city just by being you, by being Clinton. Thank you. Thank you for doing that, man.
Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah. Check out ClintonRarey.com. We'll put everything in the show notes. Gosh, man, I think my hope is I hope us as Bitcoiners in this Bitcoin community, especially in Austin, can rally around somebody behind you. And, hopefully we can see, because I think a lot of the things that you talk about, Bitcoiners talk about amongst ourselves, there's a lot of crossover there. A lot of the fundamental things. And I think it starts with just the common sense approach to doing things.
you like the wind blowing through your hair? Well, come on, roll with me till the sun goes down. Texas sun. Say you wanna hit the highway while the engine roars. Well, come on, roll with me till the sun goes down. The Texas sun, oh yeah. Texas sun, caressing you from Fort Worth to Amarillo. Well, come on, roll with me till the sun dips low. Texas sun, Texas sun, oh girl. Texas sun. When I'm far from home and them cold winds blow, stuck out somewhere, folks I